Hello, I'm Corey, and today is day 22 of the 100-day project, and my version, which is 6 by 6 and 6. And my concept is to take the paper from the 6 by 6 paper pads and show you a variety of ways to use it. The last couple days I've done ephemera holders, both a book style and then a flip book style. And I had intended to do a desktop version today, and it looked very different than this. And then I was thinking, how do I really use it? How would I really use it? What's going to be the most easy, efficient, and best way for me to use this? And so I changed it up a little bit, and I came up with something that's certainly not new by any means, but it's one, free or mostly free, and two, it's something that can be used no matter what kind of a paper crafter you are. You can use it for card making, you can use it for junk journals, you can use it for planning, you can use it if you do miniature books or little books. You can certainly use it for scrapbooking, and it's largely, and it can be project-based, like this particular one that I put together. I'm making a little album for a friend using the Little Women paper series. And so, with the exception of the large paper, which is in a file folder, I've got all the ephemera bits, and I've got all the little cards, and I've got all the pieces, and I've got the templates, and I've got everything I need right here so that when I do go to put it together, it's not overwhelming. So this is the project-based version. And then the other version is the things you go for and reach for all the time. So, for example, this one is a simple one, but Tracy Fox from Love Junk Journals does a phenomenal job with her digital kits. And one of the things that she does is labels. And I love them because they're a super finishing touch on just about any project, regardless of what kind of paper crafting you do. But they can be really tiny and little and fiddly little bits, and they're easy to lose and they're easy to misplace. And finding the right one sometimes isn't as easy as you might necessarily want. So the beauty is this particular type, I can just leave it on my desk. Maybe I use brads or eyelets or pearls or gemstones or whatever all the time. I can put these right in these little sleeves, and they're right on my desk, so I don't have to go hunting for them. And they're designed to hold little itty bitty bits so that you can easily find them and you're, like I said, not digging or hunting for them. You can just pull it off your shelf when you're ready, or leave it on your desk for whatever you use. So what we're going to do is we are going to make one of these boxes today. I'm going to show you how to do it. And it's actually more straightforward than you would think. I did learn something. These are just covered tea boxes, so they were free. But they're two different tea boxes. This particular box was a Celestial Seasonings, and I thought all tea boxes were the same size, but I was wrong. They're not. This one was Celestial Seasonings, and when I took my daughter's tea to use another box, it was a different size, so I had to use different dimensions. And this was a Bigelow Tea. Now, I'm sorry to my British friends if you don't use Bigelow Tea or you don't have it. So the concept to cover it is exactly the same. Your scoring and your cutting dimensions might be a little bit different. Like this is obviously a little bit shorter box, and it's just a smidge longer, if you can see there. But you just alter your dimensions just a little bit. But the way you cover it, the way you do it is essentially the same. And so I'm going to show you how I did that. The reason it's essentially free is most people have tea or tea boxes, and most people, well, the reason you're doing the project is because you have 6 by 6 paper. And so the first thing I did was take all the tea out and put the tea in the canister, and I saved the box. Notice I didn't cut off the flaps or the tabs or anything. We're going to glue those down. So you need a box. You are going to need a ruler, probably, maybe. Yeah, a ruler and a bone folder. A pair of scissors. Some clamps. Ink if you're an inky person, wet glue, your trimmer, and your scoreboard, your paper trimmer and your scoreboard. So these are the things you'll need to get started. And I also used a finishing project, and you certainly can't see it here. This is, I used gel matte medium, and what it does is it just kind of seals it. Like I have the labels here, and I've got the ends of the paper where I curled them over and put the box together, and it just kind of seals it. You can use Mod Podge, or you can use a glossy matte medium. This is just what I have and what I use, and I kind of like it. I use it for a lot of different things, and so it works real well for this. So I use that at the very end. All right, step one is to glue down your 2 side flaps and this. Now, you could cut it off for sure, but the goal of this is to make it kind of a sturdy little box. And to be honest, if I were to evaluate, the Celestial Seasonings box is a little bit sturdier than the Bigelow box. I think it's just a little bit heavier duty chipboard. You could use a macaroni and cheese box. You could use, I don't know, Stouffer's stovetop stuffing, whatever you want. It's just the idea is using a box. And I'm using the Bigelow Tea because at least here in the US, everybody can get a hold of this and it's really inexpensive. So if you're not a tea person and you want a box, there you go. It won't cost you much and you can, you know, save the tea for Happy Mail or pocket letters or something. So easy to access. So I'm going to use my liquid glue here and I am going to glue down the sides. And again, I'm just doing that because that extra bit of cardboard, chipboard, whatever this is, cardboard, I guess, heavier duty paper, just adds to the overall stability of the box when I'm done. And you know, see, sometimes I don't think things through. I should have glued this down first and then put the clamps on there. But the order isn't really as important as just gluing it down. You're going to cover it up so it's not going to show. Again, this is just for extra stability and to make your box a little thicker. Okay, so box ready to go. Okay, so I'm just going to, I guess I could clamp it, but it's totally not necessary. It's already pretty much adhered. I'm going to put that aside and we're going to use our papers. I don't remember if I said 4 sheets of 6x6, but our project is using 4 sheets of 6x6. So you have a couple options here. I'm going to take the bits out of this particular box. I liked it with the bottom covered. You certainly don't have to cover it, so you can skip that first step if you don't want to cover the bottom of your box. But I like the way it looks, so I'm going to do it, and I'm going to show you that. If you don't want to cover the bottom of your box, just skip step number 1, move on to step number 2, and you'll be good to go. And you'll only need 3 sheets of paper. Sorry about that. I'm always hitting this darn camera. I did get a new arm for an overhead, but I haven't mastered it yet. So, and again, this one down here, this box is a little bit different size, so you can see in that bottom right corner and the bottom left corner, it doesn't cover it completely, but it's never going to show. So I'm not worried about that at all. So the first step is if you want to cover the bottom of your box, and I do want to cover the bottom of the box, and I just didn't even look at the patterns on these. I chose 4 random papers from a set, and I'm going to use this one, and I'm going to make this the bottom of the box. So for the bottom of the Bigelow Tea box, again, I'm giving you the dimensions for this particular box. I cut it at 5 1/16, and that's so that it'll fit inside. 5 1/16 is roughly 12.8 centimeters. So 5 1/16, so just a smidge over 5. And I'll put aside that scrap for later. Okay, then I need to score this one at 5 1/16. Score at 1 5/8 and 4 1/4. So I'm going to score it. So it's going to fit in the box like this, right? And so with the longer, the 6-inch side going across, so I want the 6-inch piece here, the 5 1/4 piece going down. I am going to score this at 1 5/8, which is 4 centimeters, and 4 1/4, which is approximately 10.8 centimeters. Okay. And then I'm going to fold these in. I'm going to put this aside. And this is basically the bottom of my box. I'm going to glue this bit in, and you can see that fits right nicely and neatly in the bottom of my box. My personal preference, you can use double-sided tape, but there's no way I would do it because it's super unforgiving. With liquid glue, you have a little bit of wiggle room, and you have a little bit of time to make alterations as needed. So I'm putting that in. Notice I don't know if you can even see, I only glued the bottom, and then I'm just going to reach in my box and push it down, make sure it's on there. And now I'm going to come in and glue one side at a time. Again, just because I feel like that gives me a little bit more control, and maybe it's just an illusion, but at least it makes me feel like I have a little bit of control about what goes where. And so I'm going to lay that down and push it. And I'm going to do the same thing on this other side. I'm going to put glue on the flap itself. Can you see that there? So this is the flap. I'm just putting glue on the flap rather than on the back. And it doesn't have to be perfect because it's going to stick pretty darn well. And I'm going to push that down. Okay, so the inside of my box is covered. You could do it last, but it's by far easier to do it first if you're going to do that step. So step 1 is done. The next step is to cover both the front and the back of the box. And again, I'm going to choose 2 random pieces of paper. I really wish this was a live thing so you guys could tell me, no, Corey, don't use that one. Or yes, Corey, use that one. I don't know. I don't care. And this one's really busy, so maybe I'll do that on the sides. Okay, so I'm going to use these 2 for the front and the back. And these pieces, I don't have to cut it all, but I am going to score them. I'm going to score them at 3/8 and 5 5/8, which is 1 centimeter and 14.2 centimeters. So 3 3/8. And this one is directional paper, so I am going to put the direction to the top. 3 3/8. Let me make sure I'm saying that right. Oh no, 3/8. I'm sorry, I'm scoring it at 3/8, which is 1 centimeter, and 5 5/8, which is 14.2. So 3/8 and 5 5/8. Okay, and then I'm going to put that aside, and I'm going to do the same thing with the other one. 3/8 and 5 5/8. And now I'm going to turn it, and I score it at 1.5 inches and at 4 5/8. So 1.5 is 3.8 centimeters, and 4 5/8 is 11.7 centimeters. And I'm going to do the same exact scoring. So I've got, oh, you can't see it, so right there. I've got it scored, and then I turned it, and I've got it scored right at the edges. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing on the other piece. I've scored my edges. Now I'm going to turn it, and I'm going to score it at 1.5, and again at 4 5/8. All right. Now, because it's not always easy to see where you've scored these lines, that's one of the reasons I fold them, so that I can just see where my score lines are. Okay, and 4, so that one's scored on all 4 sides and folded on all 4 sides. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, I'm going to take my scissors, and I'm going to cut. I'm going to bring it right in here so you can see it better that way. Yeah, maybe. I'm going to cut just a little triangle in the bottom here up to where the 2 score lines meet, that point where the 2 score lines meet. So I'm not a very big triangle, but I'm just going to take a little triangle out like that, just up to where the score lines meet, and it's just taking the edge off both the right and left sides of the score line. And I'm going to do that on all 4 sections where the score lines intersect. That's a good way to put it. Where the score lines intersect is where I'm going to take out that triangle. Let's see, am I in frame? Yeah. I can't even see what it is. Okay, here we go. Yeah. Okay, so I've got it on this paper, and I'm going to do the same darn thing on this paper. And can I see? Yeah. Normally I would stick it right in my face, but y'all don't want to see that. Oh, and I have permission to say y'all because I lived in Texas for 3 years. Even though I'm in Washington now, I did live in Texas for 3 years, and I learned y'all. And all y'all. Okay, so that is my next step. Now I'm going to cover the front and the back of the box, and you just have to decide which one goes in the front and which one goes in the back. And it doesn't really matter one way or the other. And it goes just like this. Yeah. See? You can see how it's going to fit. My personal preference is, I think these 2 are exactly the same. I think these are both 1.5 inches. But you want to make sure that the bottom of your box, it goes to the middle, just in case I go somewhere. But it does. It goes to the middle so that you won't have a gap or a lift when the other side goes on. They'll meet. Okay, and I glue the bottom section first, the inside of the flaps on the very bottom, simply because I have more ability to roll it and control it when I'm gluing it one piece at a time. So this is the bottom of my box, and I'm going to lay this piece here, and you know, like I said, I've got a little bit of wiggle room and I can move it around and make sure that it's centered before it's permanent. Because these little flaps are, I don't know how well you can see that, these little flaps are going to come up on the sides. Okay, so it's going to go straight to the score line, and then this flap is going to come up on this side, and this flap is going to come up on that side, just like that. So I want to make sure that it's centered on my score lines. Okay, and I'll push down here, give that glue a chance to work, and then I'm going to come back and glue up the rest of it. So now I'll glue the back, or the front. I guess it doesn't really matter which it is. It's going to be covered, so I don't really care one way or the other which it is. So I'm going to glue that down, and I'll just press it here. Make sure it's pushed back so that it's, you know, a nice, it's covering the box completely. Now, yes, I could go out to the store and buy a box to use for this. This is just, like I said, it's a way to use the 6x6 paper. It's kind of fun, and you can use it ongoing, or you can use it for a specific project. Like that Little Women one that I had, I'm going to, when I give the album to her, I'm going to have extra bits and pieces, and I'm just going to give her that box so that if she wants to add something or change something, she's got everything right there, and it's in a box that matches. Okay, so I glued the back, and then I glued this top flap, the one that's going to fold over and roll inside my box, and I glued that down. And now I'm going to take these little hinges where we cut those little triangle bits, and I'm going to glue these down. Okay, I'm just going to put glue on those flaps and glue those flaps down. And again, I do it bottom first, then sides, and then the inside, but there's no law that says you have to do that. You can do it in whatever order you like best. Now this box I found was a little glossier or shinier than the other one, so it takes a few extra seconds to stick, but it does stick, so just keep that in mind. And the dimensions on the Celestial Seasonings tea was very similar. They were just slightly different. So, you like I said, depending on what size the boxes come where you are, you may have to adjust a bit. Okay, and then I'm going to do the inside flap here. I'm going to make sure that's glued down too, that little bit. You can use the same concept for any box. I just happen to choose tea boxes. Okay, that one's glued down, and I'm going to glue this side. And then I'm going to glue the inside flap, that last piece here. Okay, so there is the back of our box cover. And now I am going to do the front, or maybe that was the front and this is the back. Oh, I don't know. I'll decide that part later. Okay, so I want to make sure that my pattern is up. I kind of like double check it to make sure that I didn't do something royally. Here you go, see, perfect example. It doesn't match perfectly on the bottom, but I honestly don't care because, like I said, I seal this with Liquitex. I could put washi tape on it if I want to, but I certainly don't have to. And so that won't lift or peel. So I'm going to do it just like that. Sometimes I will put washi tape on the inside. And, oh, you know what I forgot to tell you that you need? I'm using the same glassine bags. Darn it. Sorry about that. I'm using the same glassine bags that I used yesterday, because when you buy them, they come in a ton. I don't know, 100, 200, 300, a million, whatever it is. They come in a lot, a big box, a big container. And so I used some yesterday, but I used them for this too. And they're not spendy at all. I want to say I paid a few bucks for that. And again, those are the glassine bags. They're the resealable ones that you can get at Hobby Lobby or Michael's or Joann or whatever. Sometimes because I'm doing that challenge for a video every day, I kind of forget what I said which day. And I apologize for that. But they are, and I'll show them to you at the end, so you will get to see them. But it's the same exact glassine bags that I used for the second type of ephemera folder. Okay, so glued there. And notice how I have the little divot here. It's going to be covered with the paper, so there's no need to worry about that. And it makes it just a little extra sturdy by covering it with that paper. Okay, so basically this is a glue and push stage. Okay, so I glued it down, pushed it in, and now I'm going to come in again and glue my little flat pieces. I'm going to get all kinds of crazy and glue the bottom and the side at the same time. Okay. I suppose you could use hot glue for this. I probably wouldn't, just because hot glue tends to be a bit bulky and you want this to be smooth, your final project to be smooth. But if you want to use hot glue, you can. Double-sided tape, same thing. It just has, it's great stuff, but it has no forgiveness. And I don't know about you guys, but I tend to make mistakes. I tend to like put things down a little off center or a little cattywampus or whatever. And I don't know. I just as soon have the ability to move it if I need to or want to. And then the last piece here. Okay, we're almost done with this, guys. Well, we're getting close. All right, glue that down. Now I'm going to cover the right and the left side, and I'm going to use my last piece of paper, and that's really cool, but it's really loud. So I think I'm going to have this be my outside. And I cut this one sheet into 2 3/4 of an inch. So it's 6 by 6, and I'm going to cut it to 2 3/4 of an inch and 2 3/4 of an inch. So one sheet at 2 3/4 and the second sheet at 2 3/4. And then I've got this lily base scrap left, and I'll save that for something. Maybe I'll use that for the scrap strips that I showed you guys on one of the days last week. Okay, these two strips, these two 2 3/4 inch pieces, get scored at 3 1/8 inches. Oh, 2 3/4, 7 centimeters. Sorry about that. 2 3/4 is 7 centimeters. Now I'm scoring them at 3 1/8, which is 7.9 centimeters. So 3 1/8 and 3 1/8. And because I am an inky person, before I glue these down, I am going to ink these edges. Just because when you do this kind of project, most paper, not all, but most has this white center, and it just kind of looks unfinished to me. So I like to ink those and make it look a little more finished. And besides, if you make a mistake, ink hides lots of mistakes, which is a beautiful thing. I like the look. I think it looks kind of cool. And I don't put a lot on, but just enough to take away that white edge and kind of like make it look more vintagey. Sorry, I know that the sound of this is like fingernails on a chalkboard for some folks, and so if you're one of those folks, I apologize. I would sing to you, but that wouldn't be pretty. So, you know, I would sing to you to cover the sound, but one is not any better than the other, so we're going to go like this. Okay, inked edges. Now the rest of it you can ink later on. You can ink the whole box, but these pieces, it's much easier to ink before you put them in. Okay, so you can see one piece is just a smidge longer than the other. That is the one that's going to go on the outside. It should fit, in a perfect world. I'll put it on here and it'll fit right. I guess I should have taken it just a smidge more than 2 3/4, but no, this works. This totally works. Yeah, 2 3/4. And so what I'm going to do is put it there and just glue it down. And I'm putting the glue on the box, but you could certainly also put the glue on, well, as you can see there, I smeared it to the side, but that's okay. You could also put it on the paper, either way. And again, I'm double checking. This is the piece that goes down, and I'm going to put this at the bottom. I'm going to line it up at the bottom, because in a perfect world, and if I scored and measure this correctly, it will line up. Okay, and then I roll it over. Ah, see, there you go. Slick as a whistle. All right. Now, if you like all of your box to be covered in the same pattern, you can certainly do that. You don't have to cover it different colors like I did. I just used the paper that was seriously just really right in front of me. Okay, I have these 4 sheets, and I'm going to use these 4 sheets. Okay, and I'll just glue my table instead. So now here, you can't see, but I'm just putting glue on this inside flap. And I am going to push that down. Now this is where this box was just a little bit taller than the Celestial Seasonings box. So you can see right there at the very bottom, there's a white piece. But I don't care. Once I put stuff in there, it's not going to show. And, you know, if you're just looking at the box, oh, that looks pretty good. So, good to go. And then the last piece, you're putting this on the side. I try to put some glue right on the edges so that the edges stay down. And that's another benefit of using Mod Podger Liquitex or some other sealant type. If you've got any lifting at all, if you weren't 100% perfect in gluing down all of your edges, that gives you a little bit of flexibility to make sure your edges are all the way down and all the way tight. And then you just push down and glue on the inside. Now I could, I suppose, put glue all over it, but if I didn't put it in the right spot, it would have made a mess. So that's why I do it this way. So glue. And there you go. Your box is done. Well, done-ish. Like I said, I'm definitely ink this because I like the way the ink looks, and like I said, it seals the edges a little bit. It gets rid of the white. It ties the pieces together. You know, like this one, I used 4 different types of paper, so it kind of gives it that more polished, finished look. So I'd go all the way around and ink up those edges. Now, I've promised not to focus on decorating because that's very much a personal thing, but you can. You have a little bit of flexibility. Like, I'm going to use this mostly for these tabs because, like I said, Tracy's tabs are phenomenal. And so I put some tabs on the front. And this one, I'm using it and giving it to my friend Beth. And so I took some of the stickers from the sticker sheet, and I didn't add much because this is the front of a box, but I just did a little bit and sealed those on there too. So you can decorate the fronts of these. And of course I could have made it really elaborate with bows and ribbons and flowers and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, you have the option to zhuzh it up a little bit, as Wendy from Wendy's Journal Adventures would say. And that is the box. Okay, so now one last step. And, oh, I'm at 27. I'm going to finish under 30 minutes. That's close enough to 6 in my world, right? So these are the glassine bags I was talking about. These are 4x6. I bought these on Amazon because of the quarantine, but all the craft stores have them. And I did mine sideways. And the reason I did that is because I love being able to just flip through like this and see my pieces. That was, but you could certainly put your pieces in like this, and then you'll have a little bit more wiggle room on the side. And the way I get it to not flop like that, so let's say these particular pieces, I just put a piece of scrap cardstock inside. I cut it to just shy of 5 and just shy of 4. I did these because I wanted them to go this way. That was the 5. But for these, I would do it just, these clear things, I would do just shy of 6 and just shy of 4, and then that could stand up. But if you want to do it like I did it here and make it fit inside the box like this, I will show you how to do it. It's really simple. So you get your trimmer and you get your little glassine bag. You want the side that opens to be able to open, because the idea is to get in and out of it pretty easily. So you don't want to cut this side. What you do is you take this little edge where it opens and you line it up with the 5 on your, oh gosh, the big old arm is in the way. Anyway, you line that line, this line right here where it opens, you line that up with the 5 on your trimmer and you cut. And now I'll lift it up and show you. See that little opening? I don't know if you can see that. That little line that shows the opening, you line that up with the 5 and then you cut, and you cut the bottom off. And now you have an open bag, which doesn't do you any good, except that it's the right size. And so my next step is, and I am going to try to zoom in for this one so you can see, sorry about my big old fingers, what I'm going to do. So I put the edge of where I cut it right on my work surface so that I know it's straight. And then I get a piece of coordinating washi. For this one, yeah, that washi works great. So I'm going to get a piece of washi. And you don't want the super thin washi, and you don't want the ginormous washi. Well, I suppose you could use the ginormous washi. And you tear it just a little bit longer than your 4 inches, which is the width of this. I'm going to move it over so you can see it. Now I'm going to line the bottom where I cut up with one of the lines on my work surface, and then I'm going to use that grid to place my tape. I go up 1/4 of an inch because this is 1/2 inch washi. I'm going to go up 1/4 of an inch and just lay it down. And then I push it right down on my work surface, and then I pick it up, and I've got washi on half of it. And then all I have to do is come in and fold that washi over. Okay, fold washi over like so. So I've got it on both sides. And I always make it a little bit longer on the edges because it's easier to work with. And then I come in and trim it. And I've resized, glare, sorry about that. I've now resized my glassine bag to the size I want so that I can fit it in sideways. And then I've just got some pre-cut strips of cardstock so that it's more sturdy. It also allows you, the benefit of the cardstock is, one, it makes it more sturdy so it stands up, and two, it gives you double the pockets. So you could put some pieces, like maybe I was going to use roses or something. I could put roses here, and I could put bluebonnets back here, whatever. So, oh, I'll zoom back out because dang. Okay, so that's why I do that. And then you've got your resealable tab, and I just fold it up, and it now fits beautifully in my box. Okay, 31 minutes. That's not so bad. Thank you for watching. I hope it gives you an idea. I hope it inspires you to try something new and different. And I hope you have a great day. Bye.